All right. So in our new packet, our next section is part 4, which is probability basics. I think these are fine. These are not too much of a killer. It's the part 5 that I might even start that one tomorrow because I just think we need to have lots of time on that one. So if you're going to be gone, if you're going to miss tomorrow, I'm probably going to have some notes on part 5 tomorrow. But anyway, so if you look at page 67 and 68 and 69, those for the most part have to do with the part 5 probability. Part 4 is even more basic than those things. So what I decided is that I think let's just do some notes right here on this page in the front and then give you plenty of time to practice in class, and I'll walk around and just hound you and make sure you're working in class because the best way to do probability is to practice. All right, so here we go. So first basic thing you need to remember about probability is that they ask you this or that. They're asking you this or that, so you're writing this on the front page on where it says, you're writing this stuff on this page that says statistics part 4 probability basics. Okay? One of those pages that has a lot of blank space, you're writing stuff down. Okay? So, or, I don't like that. If it says this or that, you're going to be adding the probabilities, but you need to be mindful of overlap. If something got double counted, that's what you need to watch out for. Now we see that on our formula chart, so you might consider putting this formula right underneath that. If we take a look at this formula here, this formula says, this is on the formula chart on the right hand side. Probability of A or B is that probability of A plus that probability of B, and take away any of those sections that got double counted. Okay, so that's the formula. Probability of A plus probability of B minus the probability of A and B. So be mindful of parts that get double counted. All right, the next thing is the and. Okay, if they want this and that, then you can just multiply. The key is you need to know if those events are independent. So we're going to go, so if they are independent, then you can just multiply one probability times another probability. If they are independent and it says what's the probability of this and that, you can just multiply the two probabilities together. Okay, we like those ones. Those are simple, but that doesn't always happen. So let me reference what do you do in the event that it's not independent, or in the event that you don't necessarily know. What would it mean if some events are not independent? What's happening if they're not independent? One's affecting the other. The fact that you are part B is affecting the probability of you being part A. Okay, the fact that you are one thing changes the probability of you being something else. So on the formula chart, that's accounted for this way in the conditional probability. If I want A and B, but it's conditional, do you remember how to read this? Probability of A given that B has happened. The probability of A given that B has occurred. Okay? That means, first and foremost, B's have happened. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Out of all the B's, probability of B's happening. And then on the top is the A and B section. A and B section. This is your conditional probability. All right. Moving on. Okay, over here, we've got next, I want you to, and I need to keep saying this, but probably next year I'll have the time and energy. By this time of year, I'm getting pretty pooped because I got all this testing going on, STAR included. When they say expected value, sometimes we get freaked out about that expected value. What do you mean expected value? That is simply the mean. Expected value is the same thing as, on average, what should be happening. That is the mean. And then I wanted to remind you that the variance is the standard deviation squared. You're going to find that the first problem you do on the assignment in the answer choices is the variance, not the standard deviation. So in that case, you're just keeping track that the variance is the standard deviation squared. Get the standard deviation with your calculator and then square it, and you're in business. Okay, now here's another one. At this point with the basic probabilities, we're just going to do probability of at least 1. Okay, we're not getting into the binomial and stuff where we say at least 3 or at least 4. Right now we're just saying, what's the probability of at least 1? That means probability of every single thing happening except for nothing. Probability of at least 1 is every single thing happening except nothing. So probability of at least 1 is probability of 1, or 1 minus the probability of none. And so we got to do this thing right here for that. So here we go.
Probability of at least 1. Listing all the combinations is not fun. Probability of at least 1. Listing all the combinations is not fun. Probability of at least 1. Easier with 1 minus the probability of none. Probability of at least 1. Listing all the combinations is not fun. Probability of at least 1. Listing all the combinations is not fun. Probability of at least 1. Easier with 1 minus the probability of none.
Okay, very good. So that's your reminder for that one. And then let's take a look at the other last thing that I need you to remember, and that is you need to know by name what the law of large numbers does for you. And that law of large numbers is saying, as you do this event over and over and over and over and over and over, then that cumulative probability is going to come out to be what it in theory should be. If I flipped a coin over and over and over and over and over a billion times or so, it's going to come out to be 50% heads and 50% tails if it's a fair coin. Casinos use this and bank on this because they know the probabilities of throwing particular events on a dice, or particular events happening on the roulette table, or whatever it is, the roulette spinner. So they know they can set their prize winnings on those probabilities that will happen in the long run, and then they'll know what they make. So here's our little song for that one.
If you do many trials, many trials, the cumulative probability, it will settle down to the true probability, the law of large numbers you see. If you do many trials, many trials, the cumulative probability, it will settle down to the true probability, the law of large numbers you see.
All right, that's the end of that. And so let's go ahead. So that's the end of the basic stuff. I want you to then just to practice this. So I want to remind you that what you are going to do is the page 73 to 81 multiple choice. Remind you that numbers 13 and 15 do not have a correct answer in the multiple choice section. You have to find those answers yourself. So do find those answers on numbers 13 and 15 yourself.